What's up, guys? Today we are going to be talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger's diet. Actually, this session is going to be more like a questions and answers, simply because on the video that I posted some time ago on Arnold's diet, there were quite a few questions, and now it's time that I'm trying to answer now as many questions as possible. So just to recap, Arnold wasn't that big on food. Today's bodybuilders, they make the whole science out of nutrition. They are measuring everything in grams, milligrams, everything is absolutely perfectly done, so-called scientifically broken down. But in the 70s that wasn't the case. Arnold and everybody else, including Franco and Oliva and others, Nubre, they were more instinctual. They had that instinctive principle of approaching training and diet more like, if I'm going to try this and if it works for me, I'm going to keep it. If I eat too much, I'm going to eat less, and then we'll see how it works for me. So basically his diet wasn't the product of some scientific crystal analysis of every macronutrient, micronutrient, but was a rather very instinctive diet. Now, Arnold never talked much about his diet in his bodybuilding days, and that was something that everybody did more or less the same. There was no secret about eating or secret meals or supplements or anything like that. People would eat together, like 10-15 of them. You can see that in Pumping Iron. They would go out, sit down, everybody will order scrambled eggs on steak and drink water with that, maybe a bit of salad. If somebody had a piece of bread or something, everybody will start pointing at him and say, "Oh, look, what are you doing? You're eating bread today." So that was like a big no-no in those days. Not much carbs. So Arnold's diet was predominantly high in protein, medium in fat, and relatively low in carbs. And this is what I spoke about in my previous video. You can see that. But today I want to focus on the questions that you have posted, which make me very happy that you're getting involved. And please do post as many questions as you want, and I will pick up the best ones and try to answer them, obviously the most controversial ones. So let's start with the first one. There was some guy called Belda de Franco. He said, "This is absolutely no way that you can lift like that, eating steak and eggs with the occasional piece of toast and sliced tomato like Arnold say." Well, this is absolutely yes, you can lift a lot, and if you eat steak and eggs 3 or 4 times a day, you will probably end up lifting more than ever before. So this misconception, as well with the low carbs, this misconception about carbs, I talk so many times. I don't eat much carbs. I actually don't eat any carbs for 3 or 4 days. I'm completely carb free. So only carbs that come into my diet, they come from broccoli, cauliflower, they come from French beans, asparagus, and green lettuce. And that's it. And this is what I eat when it comes to carbs. So every 3 to 4 days, sometimes 5, depending. Honestly, I don't even have any need to eat carbs. I may have one meal, which will be predominantly carbs, a bit of protein, no fat in that meal. So yes, it is possible. A lot of people have tried. Obviously, a lot of professional bodybuilders are still doing that even now. This is the diet which I spoke recently about. It's called gluconeogenic diet, and the fact that you can carry on training means that you constantly replenish your glycogen. Now, the myth is that you can only store glycogen if you eat carbohydrates. So this is obviously people don't know much about physiology, but this is now how the human body has been created to function. If you look, for example, throughout the evolution, we didn't have carbs around us. So the staple food, this is something that not many people talk about, not many people understand. I don't know, maybe they don't want to know or they don't want to talk about, but the staple food for humans for the most of our existence on this planet, for most of 200,000 years, as long as Homo sapiens apparently exists, was basically meat. So Homo sapiens didn't have grains for 190,000 years of its existence. Grains arrived very late, and with appearance of grains, we have accumulated so many, until then, unknown chronic diseases. I speak about it, I talk about it actually in many of my videos, and also write in my book, The Ultimate Nutrition. You can write much more about it. So the only food that was always around humans was actually meat. So this was the staple food for humans. Imagine the Ice Age, for example, before the discovery of agriculture, which started 10,000 years ago. Humans lived in the Ice Age for 20,000 years. So can you just answer me, please, all you who doubt that we cannot survive or do physical work or intense work without carbs? For 20,000 years in Ice Age, where did humans find their cereals, their rice, their potatoes, corn, and not to mention fruit and vegetables? They were non-existing, and humans were extremely healthy during that period. Paleontology shows us that when we find archaeologically all these remains of people 20, 30,000 years ago, from the period of Ice Age, they were absolutely in perfect health. The bones were developed properly, they didn't have deformation, they were taller than agricultural men, their teeth were all in their jaws, all 32 of them are there, which you cannot say, for example, about Egyptian mummies, which only have few teeth left and they're all rotten anyway. So you can tell the difference in pre-agricultural period and then in agricultural period. So even from the point of evolutionary biology, you will get that answer: yes, it is possible, and it is actually preferable to live on protein and fat rather than on carbs. So I hope this question was answered. And Arnold did, I did, so many people that I know also did. Serge Nubret did very well as well. And you just need to eat enough. You need to eat 3 or 4 times a day. Your steaks and your chicken and your fish, whatever else it is, mix them with eggs. And I will be talking soon again in one of my next videos about Vince Gironda diet, which actually started all these type of diets. But for now, yes, it is possible. Now the second question, which I found interesting, is from Stuart Bond, and it says this diet sounds like an intermittent fasting diet. You train in the morning and skip breakfast, and then obviously you continue after. Well, Arnold didn't think about intermittent fasting in those days. That didn't exist in those days. But the fact was that Arnold actually liked to train on an empty stomach. Now, why is that? Again, did Arnold do scientific analysis of human body exposed to strenuous workout with no food in him? No. Arnold tried, and other people as well, they tried, and they found out that they can train much better if they train on empty stomach rather than if they eat straight before going to the gym. And then they would apply the same principle in their second workout. So the second workout wouldn't be 1 hour after the meal. It would be 3 or 4 hours after the meal. And the reasons for that are plenty. Now we know perfectly physiologically that human body is not capable of performing high intensity work with 100% efficiency if you have food in your stomach. Because when you eat, there is a huge amount of blood that goes into your digestive system, right? And instead of then you start pumping your muscles. Then the body is under tremendous shock. It cannot digest properly and cannot serve muscles with the blood and oxygen supply properly, because it has 2 demands at the same time. Either the blood should be in the midsection, in the stomach, helping the body to digest food, or the blood should be in your arms, in your chest, in your legs, supplying the nutrients and obviously necessary oxygen. So you have a problem. So you won't digest food properly, so most of it won't be digested as efficiently as it should be. One thing. Second thing, your workout will suffer. So if you have any doubts about it, you should try yourself. Maybe have just definitely have some water in the morning, as I advise. Maybe water with some branched-chain amino acids and glutamine. Have a half liter, maybe a liter of water before your training. If you need, you can have strong black coffee. Don't put any sugar inside. So you don't want any insulin in your blood while you're training. You want other hormones to circulate through your body, especially catecholamines. These are hormones like epinephrine, norepinephrine, known as adrenalines, and these hormones are critical because they are the ones that will actually trigger the whole thing in actions. These are the fight or flight hormones. These hormones are not produced when you have insulin in the body. Insulin is storing hormone, right? You need insulin after your workout. You need insulin to store food, okay, to store amino acids and glucose into your cells. But you don't need insulin before you go to the gym. You need different type of hormones. Those hormones are not compatible. So catecholamines or insulin. So it's better to have adrenal hormones up rather than insulin. Also, adrenal hormones will kick some other hormones like growth hormone and testosterone. They will all be going through your blood, and especially after your workout. So there is a bunch of reasons. It's simply without a doubt, you should be training either on an empty stomach, or you should train maybe 3 hours after you have your last meal. This is how human physiology is. So if you think you know better or you can do better, if you think like a lot of people do, you eat immediately before workout. I see that in the gyms all the time. People stuff themselves with some carbs, either rice or rice cakes with sugar or something, or porridge with oatmeal, but they don't understand that this food will be sitting there and literally fermenting in their stomachs because it won't be digested. Understand? It will sit in you, and it will take hours and hours for that food to get broken down and get into your bloodstream long after you have finished your workout. So why do you eat in the first place? So these are kind of misconceptions that people approaching the diet instinctively manage successfully to avoid. They just felt this is not right, and then you go. My best training sessions were always when you train first thing in the morning, and basically this is the answer to this. It's not necessarily intermittent fasting. This is a new age gadget or concept invented in order to sell some new training programs or new knowledge or something. But people simply felt that it's much better to train on empty stomach. This is why they did it. The next question I would like to answer is actually there is a guy who says, well, I've tried steak and eggs, and Rocco 74 superhuman say, yeah, people are trying and it's working for them, which is great, and there is another message sent by old school bodybuilding routines, and they're saying, bear in mind guys, if you do this diet, you might want to add a high carb meal or have a high carb day to refill your glycogen stores from all the low carb days. Remember to cut back on the fat when having a higher carb day or meal. Start with a day of low carbs followed by a day of high carbs to just get used to the diet, then start expanding on low carb days, etc. Now, there is a point here. It is true. You may benefit with if you put, let's say, every 3 to 4 days, one meal only, preferably the one in the evening, the last meal. So imagine you just have a plate of pasta, maybe with some tomato sauce on the top, and that should replenish your empty glycogen stores. Now, this is again in theory. I have been doing maybe sometimes 6, 7, 10 days without eating any carbs, and I don't have any problems. My workouts are massive. Basically, I'm not doing those extreme 40 sets per muscle group training systems, but I do like to hit around 20 sets per muscle group, and usually do 2 muscle groups per workout. So I am in average around 30 to 40 sets per session. So that requires quite a lot of glycogen, I suppose. And I'm not eating any carbs, and I'm doing this almost every day. I like to train 3 days on, 1 day off, or sometimes, depending on the part of the year, if I'm getting ready for a photo shoot or some promotions or exhibitions, I would train 6 days in a row, once a day. If I really need to get in the top shape, probably for about 6 weeks, I will commit myself to training twice a day, and no carbs required. So maybe you should try, experiment. This is not a bad advice, but to go on low carb day and then high carb day next day, I think that's a little bit too much. The truth is, there are people who can afford to eat carbs even every day. I know few of them, and they're always in amazing shape. These people are unfortunately maybe probably less than 10% of all these people who go to the gyms and try to get in shape. So most of the people react the best. Most of the people, I would say 90% of people, will benefit more from low carb diets, diet that Arnold used to do, Serge Nubret, Vince Gironda advocated as well, rather than high carb diets. But there are some people who can successfully manage that, probably because of their superior, not superior, but because of their genetics, and especially about something which is called insulin sensitivity. So these people have extremely high insulin sensitivity, meaning that they produce very little insulin in order to satisfy the body needs to remove glucose from the bloodstream after the high carb meal. So these people will never store body fat. But if you are eating carbs every day and you cannot see your six-pack in the off-season, then you are just fat, right? So don't get me wrong, but if you want to be a bodybuilder, if you want to look good, if you want to have a great physique, you should aim to look like that for 12 months of the year. Maybe, of course, if you need to get in some kind of an amazing shape, if you need to get brilliant definition for a photo shoot or a competition, that's a different thing. Then you should really be careful with your diet. But when it comes to the year-round look, you should be able to see your six-pack throughout 12 months. So if you don't, then you are doing something wrong. You are not that insulin sensitive, and you are storing your carbs into the fat stores. So you should be cutting your carbs, and I would advise you to do that not just because of the look, but also because of the overall health. And this is something I'll be talking in one of my next videos. So these carbohydrates are not just very important. Regulating carbohydrates is not just a question of burning body fat, but also maintaining good health. So I think these few questions deserve the most attention today, and I will finish with this last one. So I hope that you like the video. My idea with all these videos, questions and answers especially, is to give you an opportunity to hear or to learn something new, to see that there are diets, there are training principles, methods, training techniques which are unusual, and that will give you an opportunity to experiment and to try. Maybe if you don't hear this type of videos, maybe you would never think about cutting your carbs, or maybe doing more sets, or maybe training muscle twice a week, and you would never try. So this is an opportunity to experiment, to be curious. I'm not saying that you have to do as Arnold did, as I do, as Serge Nubret did, but at least have an option and try and see what happens. Give yourself 6 to 8 weeks whenever you implement some changes, and see if you benefit from it. That's it. This is your training program. This is your diet program. If it doesn't work for you, go back to the other one, or experiment with something else. And again, if you have questions, please ask. I will be answering more often now. And thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next video.